Hi, this is the first of series of tutorials that we're going to be looking at in ToonBoon. It's going to start very at a very basic level and kind of gear upwards to something that is much more complex and much more relevant, especially if you're going to be working within groups. The current software that I've got open in front of me is ToonBoon Animate Pro, which is the version that we have got at university, but we've got a limited number of licenses for that. The ToonBoon that some of you or most of you are used to using is ToonBoon Studio 5, which is the most common 2D tool that is being used at university. This series will start to look at that as well, but in general, at the moment, I don't have that particular software installed on my machine at home, and the computer that university has given me, that particular software is not functioning. So very basically, what I need to do is to kind of introduce the software, the layout of it, why this particular software, and then go on to explain various different options available to you in Studio, and make that a bit more relevant once I have got access to the tool at home where I can do these tutorials for you. But right now, all we are interested in is to see how to do very basic stuff, like how to turn on onion skinning, how to do the playback, where to actually be, where are we allowed to actually see the various different options available to us in terms of layering and so on and so forth, to have a look at how the X sheet or the dope sheet works in ToonBoon and how to manipulate that, so on and so forth. So with that said, what I want to do is to actually reset or reopen up this file and start from afresh. So I'm just going to go to File, New. Once you open up ToonBoon itself, whether it's a studio version or whether it's this version, it really doesn't matter. One of the things that you kind of begin to see is an option where you need to choose various different resolutions for the tool, actually, for the project that you have in mind. You notice that we've got various different HD resolutions, film resolution, and also NTSC and PAL. And normally it kind of centers on the NTSC because it's an American software, but the reality of it is that even if you're going to be working at a low res, which is PAL resolution, you would have to literally, at the TV resolution, you would have to simply go to PAL, which works at 24 frames per second, and it's ideal for what we have in mind. Okay, quite simply, once you've done that, you need to make sure that you've chosen a right path for yourself. I know where this file is going to end up, which is going to be on my E drive on this machine, and I'm just going to give it a name. If I were you, in terms of what you do in the animation, sort of in the university computers, including the animation room, the best place for it to be placed would be the data drive, where um, it's the local drive of that particular machine. But you have to bear in mind that you will need to actually then go and copy it onto something else once you actually put it. Otherwise, it won't follow you around with you. The other thing, the main reason that we kind of suggest that we use the data drive as opposed to any other drive is simply because um, when you're saving or when you're working across the network, it's trying to sort of save your work across the wires, going all the way to the back of the DAC where the servers are, to save it up there and then send the data back to your machine. And if you're dealing with really heavy data files, then it's going to slow everything down to a crawl. So always be prudent. Never save or work directly off the network. No matter what software you're in, always trying to save it to the data drive, which is the local drive on the machine that you're working. But be aware that at the end of your session, at the end of the work that you've done, you'll need to save that onto your own onto your own account, into your documents folder or wherever it is. That way it would be saved and it would follow you around wherever you are. Okay, so I'm going to give this a quick name for the project, which is going to be, actually I'm just going to call this test, and I'm going to hit create. And what this does is to give me a clean, fresh start. Now with this particular software, if I go to Windows, Workspace, I have got several different options as Workspace. The reason I've chosen the hand-drawn animation one because it's quite similar to the one that you have on the sort of the lesser version, which is the ToonBoon Studio 5. That particular software is fairly similar, but you notice that some of these icons, some of these tools are not in the right place as we kind of as is on the software that you've got. Definitely some of them are in color and other ones there's a lot less version of them on yours on the ToonBoon Studio, and definitely there are bits missing on this one, like the Studio 5 has got a little bar on the side where it's got this information like camera, drawing, going all the way down here, starting with the drawing and the kind of little icons. But if you scroll over them, then you can see which one is which. Best thing to do is to make sure that you're always in the camera version. In Studio 5, it would be the second icon down that you need to click on to be in the camera version. I believe it could be the first one, but I'm pretty sure it's the second one. It's got a little camera as an icon face anyway, so you need to be aware of that. And you need to click on that to make sure that once you've got lots of little layers, they're not going to be interfering uh, with your workflow, because you only in the drawing version you can only see the actual layer that you're working. So as an example, within this one layer, if I just go and do a selection there, and then if I decide to introduce because I want a new layer, and go to this plus sign on my layers palette and go to get a second drawing. This is the second drawing, and I'm going to click on that and give it another name so I can tell what one or each one is. If I'm in the drawing layer, I won't be able to see the previous layer. I can still work on this, but I don't know what's on the other layer. This is the other layer, and you notice that it kind of can change between the two. The only way that you can actually see the two together is when you're in the camera layer. If you think of a rostrum camera, the one that you've been working with up to now, with the camera sitting on top of a rostrum, shining onto the paper underneath, that's why it works. That is what the camera is. It's looking down onto your drawings here. But unless you're in the camera layer, you won't be able to see both layers. So these layers work like a proper animation transparency sheet. So whereas you've been working with paper, traditional animation sheets would have been on cell, on acetate, where you could see all the layers on top of each other. And this is what we are looking at the moment, is that cell version, looking through the layers itself. Drawing will only limit me to the actual layer, what I can see within the layer. So that's something that you need to bear in mind when you're working in ToonBoon in Studio 5. It is always recommended, if you want to see more than the one layer, to select the camera version so you can see both of them. So that's one of the first tricks everybody falls for, and everybody comes rushing over to a technician or to a member of staff saying that I can't see what I'm working on, no matter what I do, I can't see it. This is a workaround for it. The second thing is, you've got your dope sheet or your various different sort of X sheets here, and we're going to be looking at that a little bit more in the next lesson.